Mira got the call on a quiet afternoon, and even before the words were finished she felt the world slow down inside her chest. Her grandmother had passed away, and the house suddenly felt too large, too silent, like every corner was listening. Mira stood by the window with her phone in her hand, watching the sky fade from bright to soft gray. Her grandmother had always sounded strong on the phone, always joking, always telling Mira to eat well and sleep on time. Now there was no warm voice, only a small message from a lawyer saying there was something left for her. A remote house, far from the city, far from traffic, far from the life Mira had been rushing through every day. The days after that moved like heavy cloth, slow and hard to lift. Mira went to the small gathering with tired eyes, and she watched relatives speak in gentle voices, offering food and quiet comfort. People talked about her grandmother as if she was a story that had ended, but Mira could not accept that feeling. Her grandmother had raised her for many years, when Myra's parents worked long hours and life was tight. She remembered simple things, warm tea, bedtime stories, hands that smelled like soap and garden leaves. When the lawyer called again and spoke about the house, Mira felt a strange pull, like someone tugging a thread tied to her heart. 2 weeks later Mira packed a small bag, took a day off, and borrowed her friend Omar's old car. Omar asked if she wanted company, but Mira said she needed to do this alone, even if she did not know why. The road out of the city was loud at first, full of horns and buses, then it slowly opened into long quiet stretches. Fields appeared, then trees, then hills that made the air feel cooler and cleaner. Mira drove with both hands on the wheel, her mind drifting between memories and questions she could not shape. Why would her grandmother keep a whole house hidden from everyone, and why leave it only to Mira? By late afternoon the map showed a thin road like a pencil line, leading away from the main highway. Mira turned onto it and felt the tires bump over gravel, then dirt, then a narrow path surrounded by tall pines. The signal on her phone dropped, and the screen went blank except for the time, which made her feel both free and nervous. Birds flashed between branches, and a small stream ran beside the road for a while, whispering like it knew secrets. When she finally saw the house, it sat alone on a rise, quiet and steady, as if it had been waiting. It was not broken or scary, it looked cared for, with a strong roof, clean windows, and a porch swept clear of leaves. Mira parked and stepped out, and the air smelled like wet soil and pine needles. The silence felt deep, but not empty, more like a room after music stops and you can still feel the sound. She walked up the steps slowly, noticing a wind chime hanging near the door, made from small shells. It rang softly as the breeze moved, and Mira remembered her grandmother's laugh, light and quick, the same kind of sound. The key the lawyer gave her was old and heavy, and when she slid it into the lock it turned without fighting. The door opened with a slow wooden sigh, and Mira stood at the entrance like someone about to enter a memory. Inside, the house was cool and neat, with simple furniture covered in clean cloth. A small table held a vase with dried flowers, and beside it a framed photo of Mira as a child, smiling with missing teeth. Her throat tightened, because she had not seen that photo in years, and she did not know it existed here. Mira took a few steps in, and her shoes made soft sounds on the wooden floor, each step careful, as if she might disturb the past. The living room had a shelf of books, many of them her grandmother's favorites, and a knitted blanket folded the way her grandmother always folded things. Then Mira saw something that made her stop, a handwritten note placed in the center of the room, as if it had been put there that morning. The note was on cream paper, held down by a smooth stone, and Mira recognized the handwriting right away. Her hands shook as she lifted it, and for a moment she could not read because her eyes were full of tears. She breathed in, and the smell of the paper, old and familiar, reminded her of the letters her grandmother used to write to distant relatives. Mira read slowly, the words simple, but the meaning heavy, saying that this house was made for Myra's heart, not for money or pride. It said her grandmother had come here when life felt too loud, and she wanted Mira to have a place where she could hear herself again. At the bottom the note asked Mira to look in the small blue box under the window, and that was when Mira truly began to cry, because she suddenly understood this was not just an inheritance, it was a message of love waiting across time. Mira sat on the wooden floor for a long moment, holding the note close to her chest, while the quiet house wrapped around her like a gentle blanket. The wind moved outside and made the trees whisper, and it felt as if the place was breathing with her. Slowly she wiped her eyes and walked toward the window where pale light came in through thin curtains. Under the window was a small blue box just like the note had said, and it looked old but carefully kept. Mira knelt down and touched the lid, feeling the smooth paint that had not peeled even after many years. Her heart beat fast as if she was about to open a door inside herself. When she lifted the lid, she found small objects inside, each one resting in a soft cloth. There was a silver locket, a folded letter, and a tiny cloth bag that smelled like dried flowers. Mira picked up the locket first, and when she opened it, there was a picture of her and her grandmother taken long ago. They were sitting on a bench in a park, both smiling and holding ice cream, and that memory came back clear and warm. Mira felt a soft ache in her chest because it was a moment she had forgotten, but now it lived again. She closed the locket gently and held it as if it was a piece of time. Next she took the folded letter, and her fingers trembled as she opened it slowly. The writing was the same kind, soft and neat, and it felt like her grandmother was standing behind her, guiding her eyes. The letter spoke about how the world could be loud and push people to forget who they were. It said that Mira always had a gentle heart, and that she often carried other people's worries on her own shoulders. Her grandmother wrote that this house was meant to be a place where Mira could lay down that weight. As Mira read, she felt seen in a way that made tears slide down her cheeks again. The last thing in the box was the small cloth bag, and when she untied it, a warm smell filled the air. Inside were dried herbs and petals, and Mira smiled because her grandmother used to make small mixes like this. She said they helped with calm and sleep, and sometimes even with courage. Mira held the bag near her face and breathed in slowly, feeling her body relax in a way it had not for a long time. It was like her grandmother had left a part of her spirit in that simple mix. Mira placed the items back into the box with care and closed it, feeling both sad and comforted. After that, Mira explored the house room by room, moving slowly and gently. There was a small kitchen with clean cups and a table for two, even though only one person lived there. In the back was a bedroom with a soft bed and a quilt sewn by hand with patterns of leaves and birds. On the wall were more photos of Mira growing up, and even some of her drawings from when she was little. She had not known her grandmother kept these things, but here they were waiting for her. It felt like walking through a quiet story that was written just for her. Mira stepped outside onto the porch and looked at the land around the house. There was a small garden with wild flowers and a path that led toward the trees. The air was cool and fresh, and it filled her lungs in a way the city never could. She walked down the path slowly, feeling the ground under her shoes and listening to the birds. Everything felt gentle and steady, and it made her feel less broken inside. For the first time since the call, she felt a small bit of peace. Near the edge of the trees, Mira found a wooden bench and she sat down to rest. From there, she could see the house standing strong and quiet, as if watching over her. She thought about how her grandmother must have sat there too, watching the sky change colors. Mira imagined her holding a cup of tea, smiling softly, and waiting for a younger Mira to visit. The thought made her heart feel full and heavy at the same time. She whispered a soft thank you into the air, even though no one answered. As the sun began to go down, the light turned warm and golden. Mira returned to the house and lit a small lamp in the living room. The glow made the space feel alive and welcoming, like a place that wanted her to stay. She sat on the couch and wrapped the knitted blanket around her shoulders. For a moment she felt like a child again, safe and held by something unseen. The quiet no longer felt lonely but kind. Mira knew she could not leave right away, even if her life waited in the city. There was something here that she needed to understand, something about herself and her past. The house was not just a building, it was a gift shaped by love and patience. She closed her eyes and listened to the soft sounds of the night outside. In that stillness she felt closer to her grandmother than she had in a long time. And deep in her heart, she knew this was only the beginning of what she would find here. Mira woke in the quiet morning with soft light touching the walls, and for a moment she forgot where she was. Then the smell of pine and dried flowers reached her, and she remembered the house and the note and the blue box. She sat up slowly, feeling a calm she had not felt in a long time. Outside birds were singing in gentle patterns, and it felt like they were greeting her. Mira wrapped the quilt around her shoulders and walked to the window to see the mist over the trees. The world looked fresh, as if it had just been made. She made a simple breakfast in the small kitchen and ate while standing by the counter. The cup of warm tea felt good in her hands, and she thought about how her grandmother always held cups with both hands. It made Mira smile because even small habits could carry so much love. After eating, she felt ready to explore more of the place and maybe herself. She grabbed the blue box and carried it with her as if it was a guide. The house felt like it was opening its arms to her step by step. Behind the kitchen there was a narrow hallway that led to a small room Mira had not seen before. The door was slightly open, and inside were shelves filled with notebooks and small boxes. On a table there was another note, written in the same gentle hand. Mira read it slowly, and it spoke about memories and how writing them down could keep them safe. Her grandmother had filled these notebooks with stories about her life and about Mira growing up. It felt like a bridge between the past and the present. Mira touched the pages softly, as if greeting someone she missed. One of the notebooks was labeled with a simple ribbon, and when Mira opened it she saw drawings and notes. There were pictures of the house when it was first found, and lines about how peaceful it felt. Her grandmother wrote about feeling lost in the world, and how this place helped her find herself again. Mira realized that her grandmother had struggles too, even if she never showed them. That thought made her feel closer to her than ever. It was like seeing a hidden side of someone she loved deeply. Mira spent hours reading and turning pages, letting the quiet stories fill her heart. The sun moved across the sky and light shifted on the floor, but she barely noticed. Every page felt like a soft voice telling her that it was okay to be gentle and unsure. She found a page where her grandmother wrote about hoping Mira would come one day. It said that Mira had a brave heart even when she felt afraid. Mira wiped tears from her face, but they were warm and full of gratitude. She felt like she was being guided even now. Later she went back outside and walked deeper into the trees, following a small path. The forest was alive with sounds and soft movements, and it made her feel like part of something bigger. She reached a clearing where there was a small pond reflecting the sky. Mira sat by the water and watched her own reflection change with every ripple. It reminded her how life could shift and move, but still hold beauty. She thought about her city life and how it felt heavy compared to this place. Mira spoke softly to herself, saying that maybe she had been running too fast. The house and the land were showing her a different way to live. She realized she had always tried to be strong for others and forgot to be kind to herself. Her grandmother must have known this, and that was why she left her this gift. The understanding made her feel both sad and hopeful. She knew she had more to learn from this quiet place. As evening came, Mira returned to the house and made a small meal. She ate slowly, enjoying each simple taste and feeling present in her body. The house glowed softly with the light of the lamp, and it felt warm and safe. Mira held the locket again and looked at the picture inside. She whispered a promise to remember the love she was given. Her grandmother felt close in that moment. Before going to sleep, Mira wrote a few lines in one of the empty notebooks. She wrote about how she felt and what she had discovered about herself. It felt good to put her thoughts on paper, just like her grandmother did. Mira knew this place was helping her heal in ways she could not explain. The quiet was no longer something to fear, but something to treasure. With a peaceful heart, she lay down, ready for whatever the next day would bring. Mira woke with a soft feeling in her chest, as if the house itself had given her a gentle greeting. The morning light came through the window and painted the room in warm shades. For the first time in many years she did not feel rushed or worried about what waited outside. She stretched slowly and listened to the quiet that now felt like a friend. The smell of the dried flowers drifted through the air and filled her with calm. This place had become more than a house, it had become a part of her heart. She walked outside and felt the cool grass under her feet and the fresh air on her face. The trees moved softly in the wind, and the birds sang in gentle tones. Mira stood there breathing deeply and letting the world around her sink into her soul. She thought about her life in the city and how it often made her feel small and tired. Here she felt seen even though no one was watching. The land seemed to welcome her just as her grandmother once had. Mira returned inside and looked at the notebooks again. She read more of her grandmother's stories about finding peace and learning to forgive herself. Each word felt like a guide showing her how to live with more kindness. Mira realized that her grandmother did not just leave her a house but a way of being. The lessons were written in every corner and every page. It made her feel grateful beyond words. Later Mira walked to the bench by the trees and sat quietly. She thought about her future and what it could look like if she chose a different path. The city would always be there, but this place offered something she had never known. It offered space to breathe and time to listen to her own heart. Mira felt a quiet strength growing inside her. She was ready to make a change. She decided to stay at the house longer to learn from it and from herself. Each day she would walk the paths and write in the notebooks. She would let the quiet teach her what she had forgotten. The house would be her teacher and her shelter. Mira felt a sense of purpose she had not felt before. It was gentle but powerful. As the sun moved across the sky, Mira felt closer to her grandmother than ever. The love that filled this place was still alive and it wrapped around her. She knew that her grandmother had left this gift not to make her sad, but to help her grow. Mira smiled softly, feeling both tears and joy in her eyes. The pain of loss was still there, but now it was mixed with something warm. It was mixed with gratitude. Mira wrote a long letter to her grandmother in one of the notebooks. She thanked her for the house and the memories and the love that still guided her. Writing made her feel like she was speaking across time. The words flowed easily because they came from her heart. When she finished, she felt lighter, as if she had shared a burden. The house seemed to hold her words with care. As evening came, Mira sat on the porch and watched the sky change colors. The air was cool and the stars slowly appeared one by one. She felt peaceful in a way she had never known before. The world felt big but not frightening. She knew she could face whatever came next. The house and her grandmother had given her that strength. Mira understood now why she cried when she first arrived. It was not only sadness but also the feeling of being truly seen and loved. The house had revealed all the quiet care that had been waiting for her. She carried that love inside her, and it would guide her wherever she went. The story of her grandmother would always live in this place and in her heart. And Mira was ready to continue that story in her own gentle way.